Welcome to a special Super Bowl edition of the New Orleans Saints podcast. Erin Summers and Gus Kattengell are making the rounds on Radio Row. Hear from current and former players, newsmakers, and a few surprises along the way. The New Orleans Saints podcast starts right now. Here are your hosts, Erin Summers and Gus Kattengell.
Welcome into the New Orleans Saints podcast. Erin Summers here alongside Gus Kattengell. We are close to wrapping up things here on Radio Row. It has been a busy week. We have a packed podcast today for you as we are celebrating the 15-year anniversary of the Saints winning the Super Bowl in 2009, Gus.
Picked off. Look out. Gets past Manning, and it's Tracy Porter taking it all the way. Touchdown, New Orleans. Ran their favorite play.
I don't think I'll ever forget that moment. That play, that moment, the drive, the obviously ambush, getting a chance to speak with Thomas Morstead, listening to Curtis Johnson this week, recount the day. He was getting ready for the offensive drive because he was sure the Colts were going to score, and he looked up and he saw Tracy Porter pointing. Jimmy Graham, who we're going to hear from, sitting there as a fan in the stands.
Yeah.
Little did we know, little did he know, he tells us.
Right.
That he would be on the verge to break records. And I mean, as they say, it's unbelievable this week that we've had. And today's a special one as we get a chance to speak with a lot of members that a little bit has something to do with winning Super Bowl 44.
Yes, we were lucky enough to run into several Super Bowl champs. Roman Harper, had some awesome conversations with him. Thomas Morstead, as you mentioned. Chase Daniel, who was there behind one of the best, as we all know, Drew Brees. And Marques Colston, a huge piece to that victory.
No doubt. So let's get to it and listen to those conversations with some Saints legends on the 15-year anniversary of the Saints winning the Super Bowl.
We're here with a Saints legend, Marques Colston. Thank you so much for stopping by, joining us among the craziness that this week is. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's always good to see you guys and appreciate you having me on as always.
What are you up to this week?
Just floating around the city, really down here on the business front. So I've got an investment firm called Champion Venture Partners that we're down here just trying to connect, trying to raise some capital, trying to find some companies to invest in, and just enjoying my time in New Orleans in the meantime.
There might be a little money floating around here this week.
A little bit.
And that's kind of one of the things that we talked about as, Marques, we kind of chatted with a little bit tomorrow on Friday, 15 years since the Super Bowl. It's crazy. You think about that. And Roman was talking a little bit about that and how once your playing days come in, and now what do I do? Hey, what do we do now and everything? Chase Daniel sat down with us. They're into broadcasting and things of that nature. How long did it take you to kind of figure out what you want to do? Or you already kind of had that plan well before your final snap?
No, it's one of those things where in hindsight, I just kind of prototype my way to a career. Like, I started playing football when I was 7. You guys kicked me out when I was 32. So, in that whole time, I had a singular focus around becoming the best football player I could be. And in that, you just don't have a lot of opportunity to explore other areas. So when I started the transition, and I was one of those guys that had some really good advisors and started early. But when I started to look at opportunities off the field, it was really more of exploring what was I interested in. Always trying to lead with kind of a purpose in mind, with a North Star in mind, and just trying to go be vulnerable and walk into spaces that I know I don't know anything and figure out if there's a connection in me learning it. And, through the last 15 years, just been able to step into a lot of situations that I would have never imagined as a 22-year-old coming to New Orleans. But from investing to advising, consulting, teaching over at UNO for a couple years, financial advisor. And the interesting thing is that last 15 years of just kind of prototyping and experimenting with stuff and being vulnerable enough to go learn and be a rookie again have kind of led me to this platform that I'm building out now. So it's kind of all come full circle for me.
When you started playing, you said it was 7 years old when you played football. When did you feel like you hit your stride, you felt confident, and you made it?
The real answer, week 1 against Cleveland in 2006. It's one of those things. I came from a small school, was never really the highest recruited person. Ended up at Hofstra, because I wasn't highly recruited. Mm-hmm. Ended up a 7th-round pick, just not heralded. And, for me, I didn't really feel like I had arrived until I literally arrived. My mentality just wouldn't let me believe it. And, I think a lot of that carried throughout my career, and it's one of the reasons that I think forced me to be so consistent, because I was always in the moment of trying to prove to myself that, I was worthy of being in a position.
Fast forward to the Super Bowl in that year. How magical was that run, that everything – and people talked about it. Roman mentioned it takes some luck too.
Yeah.
But the team really got along, and you guys fought hard for each other. Mm-hmm. But it did seem like everything just really kind of fell into place for you.
Yeah, it's one of those seasons. You're 100% right. The ball has to bounce right for you every now and again. Like, you can be good, but you got to have a little bit of that luck. And I always joke. Roman and I, we came in the same 06 class, and we ended up in the NFC Championship game our rookie year. And it was one of those things you looked up and you're playing with, one win away from the Super Bowl, and it's like, how do we get here? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And when you start with that kind of success, it was humbling, the 07 season and the 08 season, just feeling like you would always be back. But I think we needed those 2 down years to really understand how hard it was to not just have success, but to sustain it. And I think that 09 season was really a function of us kind of coming of age as a core group, us really believing in a North Star and in a vision that we actually, we do have the talent in-house to do this, and really just being able to buy in and just having the veteran leadership of John Vilma on the defensive side, of Will Smith on the defensive side, of Drew Brees on the offensive side. Just having that veteran leadership, those guys that realized how important it was and how rare it was to get to have those deep runs in the playoffs. I think we needed to lose those year 2 and year 3 to really understand what it took to come back and do what we did in 09.
Speaking with Super Bowl champion Marques Colston, and obviously you know what this is, being here for so long, gumbo. Lots of different ways to make it. You can make it good, but yeah, recipes and things in there, stuff. And that's how I kind of look at this team, right? We kind of joked about it when you were sitting here. Poor Erin just didn't get the full experience of how you guys started to become a championship team, Millsaps. But when you look at the group of players you guys had. You mentioned Vilma. Then you had guys like Lance Moore that was just trying to make it on special teams, right? You were picked late in the draft. You had guys picked first in the draft like Reggie Bush and guys. How do you think, what was it, that experience? Was it different chips on the shoulders? I mean, Scott Shanley works with us now and does things, and him and Fujita, trying to prove themselves as well. How did so many different types of players come together?
It's an interesting question, because when you really think about it, especially in those early years from 06 to 09, one of the only truly established players that we had was Reggie Bush, right? Drew's coming off a shoulder injury. Jari going to be wearing a yellow jacket, if not this year, very, very shortly thereafter, 4th-round pick. Lance, free agent. Myself, 7th-round pick. Pierre Thomas, free agent. Mm-hmm. We just had a lot of guys that we were kind of like the land of misfit toys. And I think that group coming together and understanding that when Coach Payton would always talk about, he had a saying, he said, it doesn't matter how you get here, what matters is what you do when you get here. And, a lot of coaches kind of give lip service to that, and when you can see through it and you can actually believe in what he's saying, when you are a player that's not, a 1st round or 2nd round or 3rd round pick, and you see an opportunity to play and you can actually go out and compete for a job, that sets a culture that I think was really important for us as a group, as a core group. And, I think just being able to build around that, everyone has an opportunity to plug in, everyone has an opportunity to compete. Mm-hmm. When you surround that and you add those leaders like Vilma, like Drew, like Will Smith to the mix, now you have this core that's hungry, that's built around competition, and has just enough of that leadership ability and those leadership qualities to set the guide rails. I think we just kind of had the perfect storm of talent, grit, And, those training camps at Millsaps, knowing that you can survive some pretty tough conditions, that didn't hurt.
I don't know if people believe me or not when I say, though, A, it was hotter there than it is in New Orleans, or that Kenny Chesney ran plays under Sean Payton and had a full day of practice. I mean,
I can't believe that y'all did 2-a-days.
Real 2-a-days.
That's insane.
That was legit.
No indoor. The key was no indoor facility. So our afternoon practices were on the turf.
I always want to ask you.
I don't know how y'all survived. And looking back on it now, I'm sure you're glad you went through it because it ended up with the Super Bowl. But in the moment, I'm sure you guys were hating life.
Yeah, it probably took a couple years off my life, but I'll be all right.
I always want to wonder, too, as well, because we always talk about it. And, again, it's being a local New Orleanian and being there in Miami and seeing that happen. I mean, again, some of the famous sayings from Jim Henderson, pigs fly, hell is frozen over, all of that. We never thought we'd see it. Do you guys still remember that, the way that fans do that come up to you, right? Because they can tell you what they were eating, where they were at, the weather, what happened afterwards, the fireworks, no traffic, all that. Mm-hmm. Do you kind of remember, whether it's the confetti, the smell of the grass, is it something that stands out to you when you go back to that night?
There's certain things that stand out. What I think what's interesting is that you're so singularly focused on making it happen that it's tough to enjoy what's actually happening. And it kind of comes to me in random moments. Mm-hmm. It's like those core memories that just kind of get unlocked that I didn't know I had. But no, it's one of those things where we knew as a group how important winning was in this city from day one, from literally the first home game, with the Dome reopening. And I think we all carried a little bit of that with us, and I think that's one of the reasons that the connection between this team and the city is what it is. But no, we in a lot of ways we wanted to win for ourselves, but we knew we had to win for the city of New Orleans in this region. And I think that those are the memories, and just seeing people's interactions and seeing people's reactions to it. Those are the things that really stick out to me more so than what we actually did, as a team on the field.
Do those memories get unlocked being here this week? Since it is a Super Bowl week, but it's in New Orleans, so it's kind of a mixture of several things for you, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a whole feeling of nostalgia being back down here. Now 15 years later, a few more gray hairs in my beard.
Roman still got you.
Yeah, Roman's had us since day one. But yeah, I mean, it is nostalgic being back down here and just being able to enjoy it in a way that the city knows how to put on a party. But knowing that you were able to bring one of these trophies back here, man, there's no feeling in the world like that.
All right, so we had several players from the team stop by so far this week, and we all asked them what really stood out. They're bringing up the parade a lot, whether it was cold or whether it was an 8-hour, 2-mile ride like Chase Daniels said. What do you remember from the Super Bowl parade, which, again, I keep telling Erin, there was 1 million people in this square area. It really was.
It was nuts, man. I don't know if I had any expectations, but it exceeded all of them. Just seeing that many people. I didn't know there were that many people in the city. And just the whole Mardi Gras flair to it. It was just such a nice touch to. I had never been on a parade float, right? So my first and only parade float experience was the Super Bowl parade. So I think I'm doing all right.
Yeah, I think that probably is never going to be topped. So just no reason to ever be in another parade.
There you go.
Marques, thank you so much for joining us. It's awesome to catch up with you and kind of reminisce on some of these stories, especially this week, and being here in the city.
Always great catching up with y'all.
Yep. End of the day, man, you're attached to it.
Forever and always, man.
Roman, thank you so much for joining us on the New Orleans Saints podcast. Always have to grab you when I see you around.
Okay.
You are always fun to talk to. How are you? How are you taking the week so far?
I'm good. I've been sleeping too much. I guess.
You don't have to lie to us. You can tell us you've been out.
No, well, I hit the casino the first night, so because living in New Orleans, when the casino's hot, especially when people start showing up, it's the reason why they're never closed. So it's really good to hit it early in the week when it's not as crazy. You got to get in and out, know how to do that, know how to finagle the system. So I feel like I'm a veteran of that. So it's been good. Good.
What are you up to this week? Where are you here?
So I'm here with through the NFL with the NFL Players Second Acts podcast. I record that with my my co-host Charles Peanut Tillman, and we really just interview all former players or people involved with the NFL that are now in their second act.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been kind of cool. Peanut and I both are in our journey in our second act. And everybody gets to make that decision or has to make that decision at some point. And it's just been really, really cool over the last year and a half that we've been doing this podcast, or almost 2 years now, that when you sit down and talk to people, you know, all of us get told to take our football and go home at some point.
Yeah.
You know, most people get told in junior high or high school, college, whatever that is. And for all of us that pros that get to do it for as long time or not even that long of a time, we all get told to go home. And then at some point, then you got to transition over. And there is no real direction or rule book or playbook for the transition. And so a lot of people struggle. A lot of people find different ways to do certain things. A lot of people mess up. Then they bounce back. It's just been really, really cool to get to hear so many people's stories, and people really open up and share things with us that you normally probably wouldn't hear versus a normal interview person, because they feel like they know us because we walk the same walk. We all had to kind of make that same journey, and we all came from different places. But at the end of the day, I think it's very receptive. We pour into these guys. They pour into us. It's been really, really cool to see all that. And it also allows me to be so transparent that like vulnerability really truly equals strength. And so when you're able to be vulnerable with each other the same way we'd be in a locker room, that you really get the best out of these stories, and all of a sudden you see that, man, like what I thought my journey was hard, it's nothing compared to this guy's journey. Or, you know what, we able to share these things, and all of a sudden they feel better about where they're at as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the things that I've enjoyed, I guess, getting an understanding with some former athletes that have become broadcasters, stuff, you get a chance to chat with them a little bit, that they miss or that was a challenge was routine.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you know what time to get to the facility, what practice, what month of the season, what you're doing, whether it's the off, like it's that routine. And when that's gone, that's the hardest thing. Is that something that maybe sometimes non-athletes can't comprehend? You know, I mean, you know what I mean.
No,
what time
I
you
totally
beat the
get it.
facility, what time you doing Sunday? What's your Saturday?
Well, not only that, but like a great example for me is like every August since I was in fourth grade, like I know what I'm about to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, since like fourth grade, every August, I'm like gearing up to play football. And then all of a sudden one day, what's up, Warren? Jan, what's up, brother? And then one day when I'm like 34, almost 35 years old, it's like it's August and no, I'm good, you know. And so that takes a little something as well. And so like me and my process. So once I got out, Mickey Loomis told me something because he wanted to know what I wanted to do when I was done, whether I wanted to coach, that I want to get into him. He's like, we'd love to have you here. Like, it doesn't matter. He said my only advice is to take a little time to decompress the same way that, you know, somebody coming back from war would be, because he said, dude, you got to think about it. This is all you've known for 20-something years of your life, and all of a sudden it's just done. You think you're not going to miss it. You think you haven't mourned, like my man Steve Smith said. He didn't have time to mourn his career. It's like, dude, I just, like, packed up my bag and I was gone. I'm like, you don't take time to actually reflect, take a breath, and actually – you know, kind of look back and say, be proud of yourself, be a little sad, understand that it's okay going through these processes, that these feelings and emotions are very normal, and that it's okay to actually have these emotions. And, you know, and you can have these emotions and still be the great man to take care of your family and stuff at home too. It doesn't, like, diminish that part of you. It's just part of the whole process. And so for me, I took a year off. I did 365 days, did absolutely nothing. That was part of my kind of getting out of it. Whatever I didn't do today that I want to get done, I just do it tomorrow. And that was my mentality. And then after that, I was like, all right, what am I going to do? And you think you're going to be able to just accomplish the world, but of course you don't. And then you start to get into things that you maybe want to try and do some other things. And for me, I did broadcast boot camp through the NFL. And then from there, I started on my little path to doing it, getting into broadcasting and analyst work now with ESPN. So it's been fun. It's been a journey, and I really enjoy getting to travel, getting to go meet some of these people, meeting legends in the NFL like Warren Moon that just walked by, where it's like, you know, I've got to see these people, and on a day-to-day basis, I cover college football with ESPN, and I get to travel to all these different campuses, and nobody knows me. It's great. Like, I just get to just vibe around, walk around, and I'm tailgating around, and then I'm like, man, this feels cool because, like, nobody knows me. Then I come back to New Orleans and, like, everybody knows me. And then I'm in, like, these NFL hallways and, like, all the NFL guys know me. And I'm like, man, this is really where my family is. and this is the locker rooms that I made my name and like where people would recognize me, is in the NFL, not in college. But it's still just really fun to be involved with football because that sport itself does not change. The rules change, the players change, but football is still football.
New Orleans is a place that you made a lot of great memories, times to reflect on. It is Super Bowl week. What does it bring up for you?
You know, I number one, I'm not staying for the game. I love playoff football, and I love watching the NFL football because it's just the purest of the pure. The players are so good. The margin for errors are so small. And, you know, I had the benefit of winning a Super Bowl, but then I also had the heartbreak of losing one. And so I totally appreciate it, the whole experience of it all, the prep going into it, the teams getting there, playing well enough to get to a Super Bowl, and then all of a sudden everything that goes into it, whether it's, you know, the little memories for me or like when I'm in Miami and, you know, the day of the game, I go see my parents at their hotel room. Got my brothers in them, they're South Beaching it, bro. They're kicking it. And my parents were like, you know, still around.
You kind of drag them off the beach to come to the game.
They're South Beaching it. They were there kicking it the whole time. But anyways, but like I remember how nervous my dad was, like abnormally way nervous, just like pacing around the room and trying to ask him, "Am I okay?" I'm like, "Dude, are you okay?" Like I'm fine. Like I'm ready to go win this game. And so that's one memory I have from Miami. Was really, really cool, and I didn't appreciate it. Like I was just blowing and going. I was year 4, trying to make a Pro Bowl, trying to go out and ball out. And then next, you know, we play well, we win a Super Bowl. I'm just trying to go party with my homies, my homeboys that all came from high school and from college that were all down there with me for the game. Just wanted to go hang with those guys. And then by the next time I went in year 10, with Carolina Panthers, you know, we were so good that year. We just knew that we were going to win that game because we were better than Denver. Complete opposite versus same quarterback when I was with New Orleans and Peyton Manning and the Colts, where everybody had us as the underdog. Opposite, you're the favorite, and you still go out there and lose it because you don't play well that day, because that's ultimately what it is. Both of these teams are really good, but it's the team that plays the best that day, not the best team that wins. And so ultimately we didn't do that. And then to see there because, you know, it's still an after party that nobody goes to. It's still quiet. The vibes ain't right. So I got it on both sides.
Unless you're Gronk and he's jumping up and down with a twisted ankle after their Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's just, you know, Gronk's a different dude to me. So I can't, you know, somebody's always got the vibes, and Gronk has them. For me, it was very disappointing. But it was super fun, and now I look back, I'm thankful. I'm grateful for, you know, all the plays, the teammates. But I don't really think about any of that stuff. It's all about the relationships that football got me. At the end of the day, that was the best thing I got to walk away with it, all the relationships, the friendships, the fact that I can probably go into 2 different buildings in the NFL and be welcomed with open arms because of the success I was able to have at both of those buildings. And it's not really – you know, when I get asked to talk and speak, it's not always because I was a great football player as much as I was just a good dude, like a good human being that's willing to talk to people and really cared about my teammates and tried to put my best foot forward every single day.
Obviously, when you're a part of a team, that's something that we can easily gather when we hear you guys talk about a good locker room. And obviously success helps build that and make that memories, lasting memories. But we had Thomas Morstead on, a couple other members of the team, you know, and when they talk about the Dome, they talk about that time. It's like it never ended, right? I mean, I'm watching yesterday on social media. There's a picture with Thomas and Drew, you know, for old time's sake, they're showing their rings and all that, doing the stuff for Steve. But is that what makes 09 even more special? I mean, obviously winning, you're attached to one of these banners forever. Yep. You know, you're a champ. But the memories on, you know, for Millsaps to being drafted and going together to get there. Right, exactly.
So the whole run, right, it makes it more special every year that there's not another one in New Orleans. The fact that it's the only Super Bowl here, the fact that they were so bad for so long, and then all of a sudden we came in and kind of changed the whole perspective of where we are, and just the fans' consistency from them, how loud they were every Sunday, that it was a place that was feared to play in for the first time. And so everybody really just truly reaching their own potential. at the same time. You got veteran guys. You got young guys coming into their own. You got some rookies, some free agent guys. You got to be lucky. Mm-hmm. And it's got to be that type of gumbo effect where you got everything in the pot, and we just got to kind of get down to it. And but it does make it feel more special because, talking to a guy like Ed McCaffrey, we interviewed him, and who's got, 3 boys, all 4 boys that all played football.
Incredible.
All is successful. And he won 3 Super Bowls. And so I didn't even know he won one with San Francisco in like 1992 or 93. Totally forgot that. And I didn't even know he was the backup for Jerry Rice. And I'm just like, he's like, dude, I still talk to people from that San Francisco Super Bowl because, like my man Joe Vitt would say, when you win together, you'll walk together forever. And so when you ultimately win the whole thing, you truly are special. Like that team stands out more than anything else. And it's because we won a Super Bowl, and we'll be forever linked together. Our passions, our trips. I mean, from the first night when we got down to Miami to like everybody, people missing the media days. Like it was like, but that was who that team was.
Yeah,
that's exactly who that team was. Like all the time. And, we had some wild dudes, and it was just fun. And I think those are the things that I remember that are so special about that team. Were like all the memories we made off the field. When nobody had cell phones. Well, we had cell phones, but nobody
wasn't
had,
like this.
It wasn't great video phones. And so it was really, really fun. And we all just had great vibes, and we partied hard. And the city did too.
Yeah.
Like that was the other thing about it. The city accepted us and went just as hard with us.
You still talk to all those guys that you won with?
Of course. I mean, we're all on a big group chat that we even keep Zach Strief on there. Zach Strief is awesome. Coach Zach Strief is totally different than player Zach Strief. And, like, the fact that he's in Denver, so he can't always chime in, but when he chimes in, he brings the heat. It's perfect. Mm-hmm. And then we get off-season Zach, which is amazing. Because off-season Zach's locked in. He's firing stuff back. Scott Shanley, he's probably our like news guy. So he always keeps us up to date on, like, anything going on, trades, rumors, the rumor mill, everything on Twitter. Shanley sends that all the time. Vilma's the most vulgar. Vilma's the one that's getting axed if our group chat ever gets hacked. Scott Fajita's our government official. So anything, news-wise or government, politics, that's Fuji's. That's his lane.
Okay.
Yeah. I bring some good vibes here and there, a couple jokes. Street's bringing a whole different angle. We got Bushrod in there too. It's a lot. It's like 12, 13 guys that are all in this group chat that always keeps us pretty entertained.
By the way you described that, you mentioned it, as we bring it back to why everyone's here on Sunday. That's what it takes, doesn't it? Not talent, coaching, togetherness. It's not easy to get there.
I was always taught that any great team, you got to have trust on all 3 different levels. So from coach to coach, from player to player, and coach to player. So you got to have that foundational trust piece. And then on top of that, you got to be good. And you got to be damn lucky. Like, it's tough. Mm-hmm. The ball's got to bounce your way. Same thing with us in the Super Bowl. Like, the ball just bounced our way. We practiced that onside kick every week for 18, 19 weeks. To run it one time, and we never practiced it actually messing up.
Why would you do that?
Yeah, like that. we just playing, and
at Washington, an interception turns into a touchdown.
Exactly, like all of these things. You just had to be, you got to be lucky, and you got to stay injury free. You got to be healthy too, and you just got to kind of play, and having home field advantage helped because I would say we were kind of lucky or fortunate versus Minnesota. We caused 4, 5, 6 turnovers and won by 3 in overtime. So you got to understand, and Jared Allen is still mad at me. So, these things are real. And it's just tough, man. You look at that Baltimore team this year. I thought Baltimore Ravens had the team to win it all, just with Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson, the way they're playing. Zay Flowers gets hurt the week before. He misses a game. Then next thing you know, 2 turnovers early, not enough. Drop pass late, you lose the game.
Yeah.
It's like – everything's got to go right. Lance Moore making that dive and catch in the end zone, instead stretching out for the 2-point. Doesn't make that play. The game's totally different. That's a great play, but some people say it's not. It's luck, it's fortune, whatever it is. But you got to make your plays whenever your number's called, and everybody has to do it. No matter who it is, where your number's called, you got to show up in the big games if you want to win it all.
I feel like Coach Harper sounds good.
I like that.
Like listening to you talk. Like, I know we talked about it a little bit. Training camp, you were out there for a while.
Yeah, it was an extremely fun time. Sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, all good. I want to start manifesting that.
Well, I'll say this. You love the broadcasting side. That's the side that we're on,
Yeah,
obviously.
I never wanted to do it.
No?
No, I always, it's the dark side, That's what I was taught.
Oh, I know you guys
Do you
hate
see
us.
we're not nearly
I
as
know you
bad?
do.
We're not as bad.
I've turned a new leaf, but deep down, I'm like, dude, it's the dark side.
Yeah.
Like, that's what we're brought, like, in my mind, the media is the dark side. And it's been that way since forever. And then all of a sudden you get into it, and it's like, dude, we're really just trying to tell a story. And so I've learned how to now no longer coach talk or just talk like I'm in a locker room. I can't give anything. Alex, what's up, bro? And so, seeing all that and now being able to give information and be able to give it to the fans and listeners in a digestible way, that's what it's all about. And being able to communicate ultimately, that is one thing I really enjoyed about doing training camp was that, number one, I checked the box. Like, man, I was like, oh, I love being back on the grass. Like, there's nothing like being back on the grass. Ultimately, the most highly competitive people win in this sport because, like, how deep of water are you willing to take that guy across from you? Like, how deep are you willing to go? Are you willing to cut his what off, to win one play? Mm-hmm. It's not like, you know what I mean? But that's got to be the mentality all day long. And then to be able to break somebody else's will ultimately and win a game, there's nothing like it. And so that building that type of mentality, that type of tension all the time to put guys in this pressure cooker to then all of a sudden see the end result, that's what you ultimately do as a coach. And ultimately you got to be able to communicate. You got to ultimately want to be able to put these guys in position to make plays. And all of a sudden look out here and say – and take pride in that as a coach.
Yeah. To
say, like, man, look at where we've come from. Every single guy on this roster can get better. Like, that's what your focus is. And you focus on those things every single day. And then all of a sudden, hopefully, you put them in position to make plays on Sunday where they go out there, take what you did throughout the week, and then go out there and be able to recreate those magic moments and see it before it happens and be able to anticipate and play fast.
You mentioned that you're not going to the game this Sunday. Have you been to a Super Bowl other than the ones you played in?
No, I don't care to see a lot of confetti falling like that for somebody else that I'm not emotionally into. I'll never go to a game that I'm probably not Super Bowl that I'm not like
working or
like intensely like into, because it's just not for me. Like I'm fine. Like I won one, I lost one, and I'm like emotionally I'm good with it. You know, it's funny because after I lost my Super Bowl in Carolina, my wife actually retired. She's like, dude, I'm out. Like, I wasn't there for when you won it in New Orleans. My mom got the Super Bowl ring necklace and all that stuff. My wife was like, dude, this is going to be ours in Carolina. Like, I need my ring. And then we lost, and she was just like, I can't do this anymore. She's like, I'm going to retire. So if you want to keep playing, that's on you. But, like, I ain't going to games.
Wow.
I'm drinking. Like, I'm not invested. Like, you're not doing this to me again emotionally, because she was like 8-9 months pregnant too. And so, yeah, it was tough. And so I came back here, played another year. She came back too, but she didn't care.
Yeah.
She was not emotionally invested. I'll just say that much. But that's what happens when you're a football family. You bring everybody, and everybody gets to see the world. And like I said earlier, our families become families. Mm-hmm. Like Jari Evans' family was like my family. Like all of our families hung together. Like everybody's family becomes family when you get to do this for as long as we did, especially for an organization like New Orleans, where it really is kind of still have that mom and pop feeling.
Yeah.
You brought up Evans, Hall of Famer?
Yeah, he'll definitely get in. I talked to Rob Ninkovich about it yesterday. He's supposed to be flying in later on today. And he's like, he definitely deserves to get in. I didn't realize he was a 6-time Pro Bowler, 5-time All-Pro. Like, these are great numbers. So he'll be able to get in. He's a 2-time finalist in his third year of eligibility. At some point, he will get in. It'll be interesting because then after that point, he makes our draft class really the upper echelon in Saints history and one of the best ones probably in, I'm not going to say in NFL history because I'm not going to be a person of the moment, but we're definitely one of the better draft classes, especially if you – and we can't do it, but, you know, bringing in Drew that same year. Then you had Reggie first round, me second round, Ja fourth round. I know we can't take credit for Rob Ninkovich, but he was with us. All right, we did rehab ACLs that whole offseason. So Rob in the 5th round going to win 2 more Super Bowls in New England. Yeah. we take credit for him, all right?
Yeah.
And then having Colston and Streif, it's just, all of us playing 10 years or more, you just don't see that a lot of times where you just get it right. And that's what leads to success in winning a Super Bowl. It's like you get those things right. Then you get lucky by like a Pierre Thomas, right? Who's a free agent that you just bring in. The dude just has this way of balance and
Best
not
screen
going
runner
down.
ever?
Yeah, just
I
doesn't
do.
go down. And so, it's all those things. You just got to kind of be lucky. And then somebody like Lance Moore that's already on the roster that just all of a sudden is a guy.
Yeah.
So that's what it comes down to.
Well, it's been so much fun talking to you. I appreciate the time. I know you got to do your real job now. So
I don't even call it a job.
It's been fun watching your career
Thank you.
post-football as well.
I appreciate it. Well, if I ever get to coach, I guess I say you led me to it.
There we go. Thank you.
I love that, man. Thank you for your time. Mr.
Appreciate
Robin
it, man.
Harper.
Who dat, guys?
Thomas, thanks for joining us on the New Orleans Saints podcast. It's always good to have you back around, and you always are a big part of the Saints community still through what you do for the Gleason Foundation and your participation with that. And most recently, where you did the Pump for ALS.
Season-long campaign, Yeah, we've been doing it all season long. We raised a little over $100,000 for Team Gleason, which was awesome. And just a really, an honor for me to do something for Steve personally. He's meant a lot to me. And he's, his resilience and perseverance and handling adversity, all the things that he talks about were a big thing for me, kind of, reestablishing myself professionally after leaving the Saints. So it was just something I wanted to do for him personally, to thank him and to encourage him. He does so much for so many people, and I just wanted to do something for him.
The donations are getting accrued throughout the season, and you're giving away Super Bowl tickets.
Yep.
So that's got to be pretty exciting for whoever receives them.
Yep, we already did that last week.
Okay.
And they were excited to be the winner. It was kind of a way to encourage people to, whether you didn't have to give a certain amount. I mean, you could literally go on and give $2, and that would enter you for a chance. And so we just wanted everybody to feel like, encouraged to be a part of it. And it was really cool to see different specialists around the league donate their jerseys week to week as kind of a way to also encourage weekly donations as a chance to win those. So there was a lot of, a lot of support from a lot of people, which was really nice.
Mm-hmm.
Football is you always think of like locker rooms, and you always hear, I guess, how football can be a family, especially like players being a family. And that's, kind of what we see here, isn't it? You just kind of talk about everybody supporting one another, and obviously in special needs and cases too. But it really does start from the days of being in a locker room and starting that family relationship and culture and bonding with players, isn't it?
Yeah, I think for me it was really cool. I'm the old guy now in the league at my position, and shoot, close to being just the old guy in general for all positions. But to see so many young specialists that weren't asked to contribute, that reached out to me and have looked up to me and wanted to have similar success that I've had. Those guys kind of reaching out and saying, I want to be a part of this, was really, really cool. So look at that. There's old Cam Jordan right there. Speak of the devil.
He's walking behind us. He's a busy
okay,
man
Cam.
too.
I see you, Cam.
Does he have his own action figure?
Look, he's got a posse around him. Look at him.
That looks like his own action figure there too as well. Thomas, do you have your own action figure?
I do not. I remember somebody had a Lego made of me about a decade ago. So
a Lego?
like a little Lego guy. So
Oh,
that's
nice.
nice.
just had a little beard on the face and
Yeah.
number 6 black and
Now,
gold.
if you had an
jersey.
action figure made of you, would it be you in action punting or like you working out?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. I feel like I'm. I think part of my I'd probably be working out.
Yeah, I was gonna
probably
say
so.
that.
Yeah.
We were talking to Blake Groupie a couple days ago, and he said that he's had some kickers reach out to him, Buckner, who's going to be here in a couple days kicking in the Dome, about that the Dome, the arena, the environment there,
Sure.
and the turf, and asking for advice. But, I mean, it is kind of a stagnant environment. There's no wind. There's no element. So what kind of advice could you even give, or is there advice that you would need to give?
Well, I don't know that any kicker would take advice from me, being a punter. But, yeah, I think, I would say it's less about the dome. Turf's really important for kickers specifically. It's more about, the Super Bowl is just different. It's a more corporate environment. There's not 95% cheering for one team like it's a true home and away.
Yeah.
It's just a different environment. It's a bit of a circus. There's a lot of pizzazz around and just energy. There's a buzz. And, to me, it's more about managing your mind in a game like that, because you can go down some rabbit holes thinking about, the repercussions for different players, for teams, for organizations, for the history of the game.
Dang, that sounds heavy, like a lot.
It is heavy. It's reality.
Yeah.
And Harrison Butker, in particular, has played in 2 Super Bowls in a row. So he's been there and done that. The Eagles kicker, Jake, he kicked in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. So they've been there. These guys know what the deal is. I know that they're probably more glad to be kicking in the Superdome than some outdoor field up in the north or the Midwest. So, anyways.
Yeah, the Eagles are getting to practice at the Saints facility all week, and the Chiefs are at Tulane, so they're practicing outdoors. The preparation, does that have an effect on coming in this week and then playing in an indoor stadium?
I don't know. It's a huge deal. Look, it's if it was 30 degrees outside this week,
we're lucky this week.
Maybe
for
that
sure.
would be different. But we've got pretty mild weather this week, and so I don't know that it makes a difference. I'd prefer, generally speaking, to be outside if I had a choice, just with practicing daily.
Right.
Just get some sunshine and fresh air. But yeah, I think the big thing is they're both practicing on turf fields. So that's, I think you want to, if you have a choice, you probably want to practice on what you're going to play on for the game, just for timing and all that.
It's crazy for me sitting here and looking at all the banners. Obviously, it's 59 of them, and the fact that you're part of one of those too, and being a championship, and then not just that, but also, Tom, is we're going to see all week, right? Just highlights of some of the greatest moments and things of that nature. So ever I don't know, pop in your head to be like, you're one of the plays that people will always remember. Not only winning, it's so hard to get here, right? To win a championship and to do that, but ambush. It's, that and the pick. Those are the 2 plays that people will always remember. You'll never, you'll have that forever, man. It's crazy, huh?
Yeah, I think I'm really grateful to have those memories. I was just fortunate to be the punter for the team that year and to have a coach that would make that call and put that trust in me. I'm not trying to take away from myself, but I'm just very fortunate to have been in that position. And, it was less about anything I did. It's just kind of good luck to be a part of it. And so I'm really grateful for it.
Obviously the play is something that, we can remember and stuff, but do you remember just like the sights, the sounds, the waiting, the pausing for the call, certain players saying something, sounds from the sideline?
Oh, yeah. I could spend an hour going through my whole experience and talking about, just the mind-numbing where I was at halftime and thinking about it and the anxiety that came with that and the negativity that of if it doesn't work and kind of my whole process of, I was so mad at Coach Payton when he told me early because it was like a 35-minute halftime. And I'm just
right, and you had to sit on it and just.
But honestly, I'm glad he did because I didn't react well to the news that we were going to do it. And, I just never believed we'd call it. We had fakes called all season long. We never ran any of them. But I guess it's because we just won so many games. And I just didn't believe. He told us the night before we were going to run it. It wasn't a matter of if, it was just when. And I just didn't believe we would. And so when he called it, I just was not, I didn't handle it very well. And I had to kind of have a little, psychiatry session with myself just to kind of, get myself right mentally. And by the time I went out for halftime to go warm up, I was in a good place. I was ready to go, and I was excited about doing it. I think that was the biggest thing is legitimately being excited about, the chance to execute it. And so it doesn't guarantee you success, but if you're not excited about it, it's going to give you a lot less, chance of doing what you want to do. So, again, I was just grateful to be a part of it. It's been a blessing for me for my whole life. When you do something like that and you're counted on in a big moment, it just carries with you. When you're so much of being a punter or kicker is between the ears, and sometimes you're dealing with a nick or an injury or something where you're not at your best, or the conditions stink, or you're just not clicking on a day, and you can always draw back to moments where you've gotten it done and remind yourself that you do have the goods to get it done.
Yeah.
And that has been a blessing for me in my career. I cannot tell you how many times. And who knows, if I wouldn't have had that play, maybe I'd be thinking about other plays or other times where, hey, I've done this 1,000 times before, and I feel like my mental psychology for the game is pretty elite. And so who knows how it would have been different if that hadn't happened. But it's definitely something I've leaned on a lot, and, just been awesome to be part of the city's history.
This is such a fun event to hold here in the city, and everybody talks about how it's the best city to host.
It should be every year.
So you share that opinion?
Yeah, I mean, the stadium is downtown. All you need to do is get a cab from the airport. You don't need a car the entire time you're here. You can walk in the bars. The hotels are all here. Everything is here. You do not need a vehicle. And people that come here, they're like, man, what is it about New Orleans? It's full of dysfunction, like a lot of other cities.
Yeah.
Right? But there's no place like it. And the culture here, there's people that have, it's not a transient place. Like, there's people that have been here for 5, 6, 7 generations. That's just like where they're from. And that is, you can go move to any, you can go move anywhere in the country that's like it's just another place.
Yeah.
And there's just something different about this place. And New Orleans knows how to throw a good party, and it's really good. It was a good yin for my yang when I came here as a young guy. I would say, extraordinarily focused and, balancing, relaxing, and enjoying myself. I didn't do as well with, I don't think. I was, probably what the coach was like, man, this guy's all ball. This, and this place has really helped me to balance out my life and not stress so much about tomorrow. And I'm grateful for that. It's just, and I've, learned to look around and smell the roses every now and then. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of times young players don't need that, right? They maybe need the other thing. So
Yeah.
It's just been a good fit for me, and I love this place. So
Yeah, it's the one constant I've grown up with, man. If you're a New Orleanian, it's home. If you're not, you embrace it. It becomes home.
Yep.
And people always do come back. I have somebody that's literally moving back from Denver after being gone for 2-3 years. Like, I miss New Orleans.
Yep.
So it's one of those things. Any thoughts on Sunday?
No, not particularly. I'm excited to watch the game, and I have not stepped foot in the Superdome since the day I walked off the field 4 years ago. So
Wow.
I'm really excited to go just be in the stadium. And I've still got a year left on my contract with the Jets. So I'm really hoping to stick around because the Jets are at the New Orleans Saints this fall, which would be a really cool experience for me. Anyways, I'm looking forward to getting in the Superdome this Sunday.
What are those emotions going to be like, you think?
It's hard to go down that road, I think. So they'll be there because I can feel them just talking to you guys right now. But I know it'll be maybe it's because of my position. It'll be a warm welcome. They'll be hoping I punt 20 times,
Well,
but it will be. I hope I get that chance. I'm planning on having that chance. And and it's not with a sort of vengeful. Obviously you play to win the game, and we'll want to win the game, but
Sure.
It's just I don't know. I feel like I didn't get a closure, and most athletes don't. But walking off the field with 20,000 fans during COVID was kind of, it's kind of a rotten last way, and same. I remember Drew walking off, and we all knew Drew was done, or I think we all knew, and I just remember, it didn't persist, but it was just one of those things where you feel like, God, this can't be the way.
Yeah.
This after all this stuff, this is the way it finishes. So it'll be emotional. I really hope it gets scheduled around Christmas, because that'd be great. My family could just come back down and be like, all right, you guys are just staying. I'll go back up and finish the season out.
Yeah.
But it'll be emotional for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. You've been a part of so many memories and so many moments, man. I think for sure fans will embrace you, man. I mean, look, I just brought it up, ambush. It's one of the moments that we will always have. Look, I grew up here. I'm 49. Before I covered the team, I was a fan, and so you brought home a championship. You helped bring one home. So
listen,
no one's going to.
Let me tell you, when I knew that I had a different, sort of relationship with the fans here, when I had people encouraging me when I signed with the Falcons to kind of keep things going for that half a year, I said, man, I was shaking signing that contract 3 years ago, 4 years ago, whatever it was, and had so many people reach out saying, man, we're just so happy you're still going, and keep going. So yeah, I wouldn't be concerned about what the reception would be. I know it'd be positive, and it'd be kind of honestly a healing thing for me. I think would just to be able to do that one more time in New Orleans. It'd be pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. When you won it, the game was in Miami, but you got to come back here and celebrate it.
Mm-hmm.
You said this place knows how to throw a party. They know how to have fun.
Yep.
What stands out to you about that day?
Oh, man, so much. I remember riding in the pink shoe, me and Garrett Hartley and Jason Kyle. They threw us in the Muses pink high heel. I remember it was so nasty, cold, and windy. It was freezing cold, and we were the last float, so I think some guys finished on the first float, 2 hours before we finished. I mean, it was a 6-hour deal.
Yeah.
And then I remember being with my buddy Jason Kyle and us getting a text from Mark Brunell saying, hey, you got to ditch the party. We're all at Lucy's, and we went to the back bar at Lucy's. And it's still to this day, the only day I've ever felt like a rock star was going into Lucy's, and there was these huge bouncers that looked like they should have been our starting linemen. They were bigger than our linemen were. And it was just an amazing experience. Drew teaching the crowd to chant that we had that season at the bar. And we were behind the bar. And I'm telling you, after he did that, for the next 10 minutes, there was no cash exchanged. I mean, we were just popping drinks, pouring drinks for everybody. There was no... You know what I mean? It just was like you couldn't even recreate what happened. It was one of the coolest things ever. And 4 days later, it rolled right into Mardi Gras. And I remember I had to go home like that weekend. I got so sick. I had like 104 fever. And I was like, my body just told me, like, this is...
We got to shut it down.
Shut it down. And so, but it was a great experience.
Yeah. It sounds like I cannot imagine Lucy's and all of you guys in there.
It was great. Lucy's was like Cheers for us. We did the same thing every Friday and Sunday the whole season, and it never got old.
Because I heard you guys would go there a lot.
Yeah, they really took care of us there, and our girl Deb Schumacher was the manager, and she just cared for all of us, and she wanted to just make an awesome environment, awesome experience, and it was just what we did, and it wasn't like there was no question as to what we were doing on Sunday after the game. Like, that's where we were going, and it was just great. So,
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
I appreciate the time. It's always good to kind of relive some of these memories here.
Sure.
And appreciate you for what you did for the organization and what you're still doing for Gleason and the foundation.
Well,
yeah,
thank
for
you.
sure, man. Appreciate the time. And like we said, saw you last week and felt like you were still part of the organization.
Yeah.
It's like home, man, like family. So appreciate
I appreciate it. I feel it. And never say never. Still, the train's still rolling. So
I heard about it. Good luck this season.
All right, thank you.
Here, Mr. Chase Daniel, I just said it to you when you walked up. Nice to see you not on a computer screen, man. I was helping produce Going Long with Chase Daniel. So many quarterbacks. Jake's over there that we saw here as well. Drew's walking around. But I enjoyed that from my perspective because you did a great job of being able to get stories from some of these quarterbacks I didn't really know, like Drew saying I thought it was a baseball player and all that. What did you learn during that series, man?
You know, it was great to talk because, like, I view myself as a New Orleans Saint. I played there for 5 years of my career. It was the longest tenure team I'd ever been with. Was there 4 years to start their career and then came back in 2017. So Saints have a really big place in my heart. So to be able to talk to all the legendary players, I mean, obviously everyone knows about Drew, but Danny Werfel and guys like that, to just be in and actually, like, it's different when it's athlete to athlete, right? Like, because I feel like they have a little bit of a better feel of, like, what we went through, and so they open up a little bit more. And my whole thought during this whole process was, like, I'm not even going to ask them questions. I'm just going to get them talking. And when you get those guys talking, especially about themselves a lot, they open up and they like to see that and they like to do that. So it was a blast. I had an absolute blast doing the whole thing.
You've been getting into the media space for a little while now and really taken off of late. What do you like about it?
You know, the one thing that I enjoy a lot is that it keeps me around the game. And so I played 14 years in the NFL and was a backup for most of my career, 5 career starts, all that's talked about. I knew that God put it in my heart that I wanted to be around football for the rest of my career. I'm an expert at football, whether it be college or NFL. Luckily enough, NFL, it was either media or coaching. And my wife's here. She would divorce me if I went the coaching route because we spend more time than the player. Yeah, that would take you away
even more, yeah.
You know what I mean? So I was like, all right, let's do the media. So now it's an everyday show. We do a morning show for Fox in the facility. Yep. It's great. It's been awesome. It keeps me around. It keeps my mind sharp. I really enjoy the X's and O's, diving deep. But also, I've had to sort of learn the gamesmanship and sportsmanship side of, like, being on TV. And it's not always have to be so in-depth. And so it's been a really, really good process for us right now. And it's just going to continue grinding.
One of the things I remember, I guess maybe it kind of started and took that off, was you and Dana Orlovsky putting the playbooks together and kind of going through it just to give us an idea of, hey, it's not just a matter of get up there, snap your hands, you know, and go with the preparation that goes into it in the day-to-day step process. When you take that, what you just said to us, and you look at some of these young quarterbacks, what they did this year, Jaden, he's walking around here. How incredible is what they did this year?
Especially as a rookie. What Jaden, even Caleb Williams, Bo Nix for the Denver Broncos, I mean, what they're able to do, first of all, it tells you how ready they are coming out of college. Secondly, it means that you are in the right fit and you're in the right system at the right time for coaching. Like Jaden hit the lottery with Cliff Kingsbury, NFC Championship game, played really well, Rookie of the Year, all this stuff. And it just speaks to volumes on, like the two guys I thought played the best this year, Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix. They're both 24, 23 years old. They're older rookies. They've played a lot of ball. Gone are the days I think you're able to play 2 or 3 years in college and then just start right away. Like, you almost have to sit at some point and to learn, like Aaron Rodgers did with Brett Favre, Jordan Love did, Patrick Mahomes sat for a year behind Alex Smith. So I think all that really plays into it. And it's just impressive to what they're able to do, because there's a difference between writing plays on paper and getting plays installed on paper and then actually going out there onto the grass and doing it at a really high level for a 17-game season. It's been,
Bryce Young was a good indication of that this year, right?
No doubt.
Took a little breather. Jake talked to you about it on your podcast about it, and then we saw how he looked towards the end of the year.
Yeah, I think with Bryce, I think that he probably played earlier than he should have. And if you look at his rookie year last year, he was surrounded by guys that weren't awesome. It didn't help elevate his play. This year didn't start very well, but the benching let him sort of take a step back, see Andy Dalton play, see, hey, this is what it's really supposed to look like. And then the head coach down there, Dave Canales, you got to give him all the credit in the world for everything he's done around him. I was actually on a flight with him coming here from L.A., and I said, bro, what was the biggest step? He's like, I just took time to finally be myself and just, like, let the game slow down. And when the game slow down for these guys, that's when they're the best.
Looking at our rookie this season who got several starts in Spencer Rattler, how difficult was the position he got put in, and what did you see out of him that does give you, some hope?
Yeah. I think for me, it's like, one, he can spin it. Like, he can spin it with the best of them as a rookie, like really strong arm. All the tangibles are there, where I think he wasn't necessarily ready at points was the intangibles, how to talk to a huddle, how to speak to. I had dinner with Taysom Hill last night and his wife, and he was just telling me all about. I think those small things, right, he didn't get a lot of play in college, right? He played really well at South Carolina. But the physical aspect of some things, the intangible assets, how to lead, how to do this, how to do that. When Derek Carr's in and you're a rookie, you're trying to not step on toes, all that stuff plays into it. Do I think he can be a good quarterback in the league? Sure, yeah. I think it takes work. And I think the speed of the game is not talked about enough from the rookie level and everything that they're able to do. Like, it is very, very fast and is much faster than college for sure.
Obviously, the Saints in the middle of a coaching search here as well. The perfect marriage we talked about, what you were talking about with Canales and, Jaden being paired the right way. You were witness to Sean and Drew and that collaboration. How important is it for a play caller and a young quarterback or any quarterback to collaborate and be on the right page?
Well, it's vitally important. If you're not doing that, then I don't think you're going to be a very good team, because like the two most important people on the team, I mean, make no mistake about it, is a head coach and the quarterback. And if the head coach especially is a play caller offensively, that relationship is huge, right? And so you got Derek Carr. Is he going to, like, what's going to happen? Is he going to continue with the Saints? Are they going to go out and get someone who's going to be the head coach? We don't even know who's going to be the head coach. We think it's Kellen Moore, right? And I like offense for you guys. I think an offensive head coach is the way to go, right? And if Kellen takes a job, then offensively you guys are going to be really good. Defensively, I don't think that you guys have any issues really at all. A little bit older team, right? But I think that relationship really rights the entire ship. It really sets the culture of the team. If the play caller, who's a head coach at the time, and the quarterback are on the same page, you really can take off.
You talk about being on the same page, but the support that you have within the quarterback room as well. And I felt like all of the quarterbacks for the Saints this year really did help. And Derek Carr was trying to bring along Jake Haener and Spencer Rattler. You were in similar rooms with one of the best in Drew Brees. What were some of those experiences like behind the curtain?
Yeah, I mean, look, when I first got there, I always remember Joe Lombardi was the quarterback's coach there. And what Joe told me, I said, hey, I want to get better. I want to do this. It was with Mark Brunell was the backup. It's when Drew was the starter. I was the third. And I said, how can I get better, to Joe Lombardi? He's like, just do what Drew does. And I was like, all right. Like, that's your coaching? Then I was. And so I was like a sponge with Drew, and we were together 5 years of my career. I think I was his longest tenure backup. And so we have a really good relationship. He took me under the wing a little bit just from terms of, like, how to prepare. Because I was a film nut and film junkie in college, but how I prepared in the NFL my rookie year wasn't good enough. And so he got me on that level, and I really took what he brought me and gave to me and went around the rest of the league for 14 years with it.
All right, you understand if the IFB in your ear is telling you 30 seconds to break down Sunday. You probably need longer than that, but give me your best 30 seconds.
Look, I think it's going to come down to Jalen Hurts. I really do. Like, Saquon's going to get his. I think that Steve Spagnuolo, defense coordinator for the Chiefs, he is going to stop the run. He's going to stop Saquon. How does Jalen Hurts handle the pressure on him? Because you have Devontae Smith, you have A.J. Brown, you have Dallas Goedert, you have all the pieces around. You have 4 of the 5 pieces on the offensive line where either Pro Bowl or all-pro players. You have a super team around you. Patrick Mahomes is going to score points. You're going to have to score more than him, and the ball for sure is going to have to be in your hands. They haven't faced a 10-point deficit since week 4. So we don't know what they can do coming from behind. We don't know what they can do when they're behind. I feel like they're going to be down double-digit points in this game at some point, and if they do, can Jalen Hurts bring them back?
It is Super Bowl week, so got to ask you, any memories from your time with the Saints?
The Super Bowl parade.
Yeah.
When we won it in 2009.
There are memories from that?
Oh, barely. Barely. It was, I remember, because it's like obviously Mardi Gras next weekend. I remember this parade was right before Mardi Gras, and we got to ride in all the floats. I think we rode on Bacchus, and it was one of the most enjoyable 8-hour, 2-mile rides we've ever had in our entire life. And you're right, not a lot of memories, but that will go down for me like core memory for sure.
Yeah. Oh, it's awesome to have you here. Thank you so much for spending the time and sharing some with us.
Yeah, thanks
for sure, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no doubt.
It is always so fun to go back down memory lane and hear from those guys, and I appreciate the time, their vulnerability, how open they were about some things, and some new stories that we learned.
I thought it was interesting to see the emotion from some of those players. Thomas Morstead talk about what's going to be like to come back to the Dome maybe this year as a Jet to play.
You couldn't see it. I'm sure you could hear it in his voice, but he got choked up. Tears in his eyes. He took a few moments there to collect himself thinking about it.
Marques Colston I think, bringing up something that is interesting that maybe we don't think about a lot, but that his answer to your question of do you get to relive it when you come to New Orleans, he's like, yes, when people come up and talk to me about it.
Mm-hmm.
And as that happened, somebody walked up, and it was the Whistle Monster and a friend of his and said, thank you for the Super Bowl. And that's, I think, the thing that will always tie these players to it. But it is interesting. I was talking about it with my wife last night, and I wonder when these players walk around, it's normal folks outside of Radio Row. Man, I remember where you were. And then my wife starts telling me her story. It's so unique, and you've seen this since you moved over here. In New Orleans, when you ask where you went to school, what do they say? High school, right? Not your college.
Yeah.
It's a unique thing. Here, when you mention 2009, you mentioned the Saints Super Bowl, the first thing out of their mouth, they want to tell you where they were, what they ate, where they tailgated,
right, yeah.
where they went afterwards, how they got stuck downtown. There was no cabs. Did they go to the quarter, the firework? Like, everyone knows where they were that moment when that play happened, and everyone knows exactly where they were that night to celebrate it. And I think that's pretty cool to hear the players. Then you have the opposite end. Roman Harper really stood out to me. He got a chance to play in two. Won with the Saints, didn't with Carolina.
Yeah, and it was that first one. He said it was early on in his career. He didn't appreciate it enough. I mean, obviously, it was a huge accomplishment. Loved his team, loved the city, loved the Saints. Still loves the Saints and his teammates. But he thought that he would go to another one and didn't realize that it was that hard. And when he did finally get to another one, losing it really hurt.
Yeah, it was great catching up with them. And the other thing that I guess people can't see that are listening right now, when they run into one another, it's like old times, isn't it?
Oh, I mean, like no times lost.
Like no times have been lost.
Yeah, definitely. Well, last night was the NFL Honors, and we had our own team reporter on site, Mr. Colin Saunders. So that video is available on our website, social media. You can check out Bink on the red carpet. All of his interviews, I'm sure it was completely serious. No fun was had.
None.
But everything that we've been doing all week is on NewOrleansSaints.com, or you can find it on X @Saints. Thanks for listening today, and we will have another podcast for you tomorrow full of a ton of takes on this upcoming game Sunday and the Saints and their next season.
Yep. Thanks for listening.
You've been listening to a special edition of the New Orleans Saints podcast from Super Bowl 59's Radio Row in downtown New Orleans. For more complete coverage from John DeShazier, be sure to visit NewOrleansSaints.com.